Hi guys, I'm going to be talking about summarizing today and how it's a great strategy that we can implement within our classrooms and how to implement this with different studies as well as just different examples of how to do so. Now, summarizing is a great after reading strategy which helps students retain information by having them put the main ideas and main plots or main points from the text or whatever reading comprehension you're trying to do into their own words, and it helps them just retain the information and remember what they need to remember specifically about that text. And that just is a great way to help them with notes, help them with the books you're reading, help them with different terminology in science when you're going through the body and different things like that. And one of the studies we looked at was a self-regulated approach and summarization and how that is important to teaching individuals with emotional and behavioral disorders and how this certain approach to summarization helps those students stay motivated in their learning, and being motivated in the learning is the number one thing we need to teach within our classrooms, because if a student is not motivated to learn, they will not learn. And so students with emotional and behavioral issues really have a hard time sometimes grasping onto information, and being able to teach them this way of how to summarize and going through their own specific texts and figuring out how to become a persuasive writer and say, okay, how would you summarize this information, and sort of let them self-regulate that in a way that allows that student to put out that information in their own terminology, which is just really, really helpful for those students as well. And it basically just helps a student be able to write on their own pace and make it feel like it was their idea rather than being forced upon them. The next study we looked at was a science study, and it was an experiment with 6th graders that showed that if you instruct students to go by the context of the lecture or context of what they're trying to read, it helps the student retain more information rather than just having them go by the structure of the text or structure of the lecture. And they found within this study that it was really helpful with taking tests and helping those students retain the information by summarizing their notes in a way that made sense to them rather than going by a specific way. And it just reminds us that as educators, summarization is not just a cookie cutter block that we have to fit into. It can be shown in many different ways. And one of those many ways is the narrative pyramid. And now we took this in the Warren path. And so we show that there's a character, and then you break down that character and go further down, and shows this graphic organizer in simple sentences that just helps one that is reading a complex novel or a complex poem break it down a little further so that they can summarize it into their own words and actually understand what they're summarizing rather than just regurgitate information. They're retaining the information. And another one we looked at was sketch to stretch, and we looked at this one as a way that the students are able to find personal meaning, and the textbook talked about that a lot with the personal meaning, that these students can pick out exactly what they want to say with their image. And so our example has the stages of mitosis, and they found that looking at the specific stages and what happens within those stages was an important way to talk about or show the stages of mitosis. And that's just one way of showing it, not just in a textbook format of going through a novel or in a literature aspect of summarization. It shows that it can be in any field, specifically science. And that's all I have for you guys today. And I'm just so excited to watch all y'all's videos, and I hope you guys are having an amazing time at home, and I can't wait to hear what y'all have to say. Bye!